We lied to everybody. We said we weren't coming on today. Happy Thanksgiving to everybody out there. We're glad that you are going to join us at some point in time because we know some of you right now are probably still rolling over in the bed like Wade, so that's okay. You deserve it today. It's Thanksgiving. You don't have to get up with the chickens every single day. I'm glad to get up with the chickens today because Auburn is Maui champs, 90-76 over Memphis. And really, Randy, here on this Thanksgiving morning, Auburn's got a lot to be thankful for. Auburn fans do. And if we could keep this momentum going into Saturday, this will be one of the best weeks as an Auburn fan that I can remember. I mean, starting with Texas A&M, the win there on Saturday, to what Auburn's been able to do in this tournament here at Maui, and then the Iron Bowl, of course, coming up on Saturday. So can we bookend this thing with two big football wins?
Well, let's hope so, because, Brett, last night was the best I have felt as an Auburn fan probably since the SEC championship win in the basketball tournament last year. This team just easily won the basketball game. It felt exactly like it did the night before. You know, when Auburn extended the lead out to 18 or 20, they'd kind of sneak it back to 10 or 12, and then Auburn take it right back up there. And there is one thing for certain, and I think this is worthy of saying as much as we can this year because we've never had one, but we got the best player in the country. And he has shown it against three outstanding basketball teams, and he's proven it time in and time out over the last several years. We've seen it, but now I think the rest of the country is seeing it. And if you listen to the broadcast yesterday, they said it a dozen times. I mean, if the national award was up today, Janai Broome would be the winner. And Brett, the first half of the last two basketball games, you can't play better than he has. What, he have 18 the night before against North Carolina?
Right.
10 rebounds at half. Yesterday he had 15 and 10. I think he had 6 assists yesterday to go along with Dylan Cardwell. So our two centers, our two 4s and 5s, had 12 assists between the two of them. It's amazing, Brett. I mean, I can't say enough about the chemistry of this team, how much they cheer for one another, how hard the coaches coach, all the things that I love about sport, and not just basketball, but sport in general. This Auburn team exudes. It exudes a coach that's passionate, pushes his kids but loves on them, doesn't accept mediocrity. His assistant coaches really coach hard, but you can tell they hug on them when they get in the locker room. And what more can you ask for? I mean, as Auburn fans, I was thinking last night going to bed, man, we cannot ask for a better sports program than we're getting in men's basketball right now. And I hope it flows downhill and football gets a little touch of it and the women's athletics get a little touch of it because Bruce Pearl's, he's that exceptional to me, Brett. He is that good a coach that everyone around him, kind of like Nick Saban, you know, when you got a coach that is just head and shoulders above anyone else in their profession, and I know he's got to win a championship, and we all are very hopeful that he does, but what he's doing in a school like Auburn, I don't think you can say it enough. We were not a basketball program. If you go back historically, Brett, you've said it over and over and over again, we're the worst basketball program in the conference historically, outside of a couple of decent runs at two different times. But this Auburn basketball team is consistently in the top 3 in the SEC, and the SEC is the best conference right now. And I told my wife last night, she has no earthly idea how big of a win that is in Maui. Unless you keep up with the sport, you don't really know. I said, this is the third time in 40 years that an SEC school won that tournament. That's how big that is. And it's not like SEC schools haven't been playing in that tournament. And they haven't won it since 1993. Brett, that's an amazing feat in its own. I hope that it's not the last one that we have this year, and I suspect it's not. But it is one. It's one that you can go back and put your name in the history books and see your picture up on that wall in Maui and get invited back probably every other year the way that we're playing right now.
We're the only team that's only been invited twice to win it. Okay, I mean, first of all, again, do you know how rare it is to win this tournament? I mean, because first of all, you got to be invited, all right? And then second, you got to go through a gauntlet to win it. This is one of the hardest accomplishments that you can have, and you got to win 3 games in 3 days against top 5, top 10 teams, more than likely, depending on who the field is that year. So, I mean, if you want to go back outside of Chaminade, they're the only team that's been. They went 37 times. I think they were the host.
Yeah, they're the host team.
So North Carolina's been 9 times and won it 4. Arizona's been 8 and won it 3. Kansas has been 8 and won it 3. Indiana, UCLA have been 7 times and won it 1 time. Those historic programs been invited 7 times and won it 1 time. Duke 6 times and won it 5. Good Lord. I mean, you talk about the dominant. But when you go past that, you've had some 6s like Michigan State. They were there again this week. They've only won it once. UConn's been 5 times, won it twice. Kentucky's been 5 times, which you thought, man, okay, why Kentucky? They're the blue blood of the SEC. They've only won it 1 time. I mean, so Vanderbilt won it with Will Purdue back in the 80s. Okay, they've been invited 5 times and won it 1 time. I mean, you go down through here, and then it's a bunch of 4s and 3s, and then you get down to the 2s. Auburn's the only team that's ever been twice to win it. And, I mean, again, that tells you how rarefied of the air it is in this tournament. Again, the progression. You got to be invited first, and you don't get invited often because you see these blue bloods over their whole history. I mean, 4 or 5, some of them 6 times, and that's it. We've been twice since 2018. We finished 3rd that time, and we finished 1st this time. And it's all been under Bruce Pearl's watch. And like you said, I mean, this is not a secret, but you and I talked about this 2 weeks ago before anybody else started talking about this. The announcers have seen it now. The world has seen it. Not that they haven't seen Janai Broome before, but you and I said we feel like we may have the best team, may have the best player in the country, and that he should be up for Player of the Year. And if you talk to Jay Billis and you talk to everybody in the studio at ESPN, there's without a doubt in their mind that Janai Broome right now is the best player in the country and deserves. Now, again, we got a lot of basketball left to play, but I mean, it's not like he's going to have some massive drop off. I mean, if he stays healthy and continues to do the things that he's doing, and like you said, it's not that he's just scoring and getting rebounds. He's creating shots for other people. I mean, his assists are as important or more important than anything he's doing right now. And let's also mention that Dylan Cardwell didn't miss a shot yesterday. Had a career day, 18 points. I mean, these two guys feed off each other, and I love what you sent over, and I had read it on Twitter as well, the little diatribe of what Dylan said about Janai Broome. And, you know, that, Randy, let me say this before I let you elaborate on that. That's human nature, man. It's human nature inside to get a little, you know, I wish that was me. I wish I had more minutes. I wish I was doing that. And then you have to come to a conclusion in your own mind that that's what you know, hey, I'm going to be a team guy and I'm going to be better than this. I'm not going to sit here and pout because I didn't score 21 points. I'm going to do what it takes to win. And that's the whole mantra of this team.
Well, I'll stick with that. And it's very difficult. But you and I kind of have this back and forth that we talk about. And, you know, when you grow up in communities and you're around places or you're part of programs, it's very easy to watch some of the kids that go through that program and to see the ones that cheer for them and those that don't. And I've told kids, especially ones coming through our Benjamin Russell program over the years, you know, I want you to watch close now. Watch the ones that cheer for you and watch the ones that don't seem to do that, because I promise you can make some determinations right now who's got your back and who doesn't. And Dylan Cardwell said it perfectly yesterday. He didn't. You know, when he was only getting 9 minutes with Janai playing as well as he did against Virginia Tech last year, he had some soul searching to do on whether he was going to cheer for his teammate or feel sorry for himself. And he made the decision with the good Lord that he was going to start cheering for his teammate and be a good teammate. And really, honestly, Brett, since that point, Dylan Cardwell has played very good basketball. Offensively, he has gotten nothing but better. And most of the talk that I hear, of course, you're going to hear about Janai Broome, who deserves, if he continues on this path. You know, we've never had a player that I thought this time of the year you even look at and, Wade, glad to have you in, buddy. but we've never talked about anybody at this point in the season where we've got the National Player of the Year if he just continues down this road. You continue to score 18 points and score 10 and get 10 rebounds a game, you're going to win National Player of the Year. I've never had that I can remember or point back to. So it's his to lose right now. But back to Dylan Cardwell. Dylan Cardwell's getting talked a lot about moving on. He could be a role player, an NBA piece, a guy that can defend, a guy that defends the bucket and has a lot of shot blocks, but now has a little bit of an offensive game to him that you saw yesterday. And that's massive for him. And I don't think anyone last offseason, when a lot of us thought that he'd move on, whether he go to a new team, whether he go on to or try the league or try overseas. Wade, did you sense that Dylan Cardwell is going to be an NBA player at any point? But now in his last year, the change that we've seen with him, he easily could be.
Good morning, guys. Sorry, I'm running a touch late helping out with the turkey prep. So
no, you were just rolling over. Don't tell stories.
Happy Thanksgiving, guys. I was making Bloody Marys. Dylan Cardwell, I've always said if he were to go on to the professional level, especially the NBA, he would remind me of somebody like Dennis Rodman, the Worm, where you could just, with his athleticism and hustle and raw talent and blue collar rebounding, could find some, and defense could find some type of spot on any kind of roster just because of his attitude and work ethic. And what he's done is what Janai Broom's done by staying where they have enhanced their possibilities. Broom, possibly at first a second rounder, maybe late first rounder after last year, early second rounder. They're talking about him being a lottery pick. I mean, they have worked on their game. They have worked on their bodies. And you said it, they accepted this culture, and it all starts at the top with any culture. I love what you're saying, Randy. I'm a huge believer in celebrating all wins for all people within an organization, no matter how big or small. Celebrate them. And Bruce Pearl's done that, and he's gotten these guys to buy in. The folks who don't buy in move on or wash out. And this is a culture that he's set. And Caldwell's a perfect example. And by accepting this guy has become one of the all-time most liked Auburn athletes that I can ever remember, and I love it.
Yeah, I mean, he's the guy in the stands with no shirt in the football game. He's got a little Around the World with Dylan show that he goes around. I didn't know if y'all saw that feature last week where he went to the fire department and he trained. He got up on the ladder, and I mean, Randy, I thought of you because he was scared. But, hey, guess what he did? He fought through his fear, and he went all the way to the top of that 90-foot ladder on top of Auburn Arena.
Wait, I don't like heights, buddy.
I'm not a big fan of them either.
It's not that I'm not a fan of them. I'm coming down.
No, he's terrified. He's terrified.
Hey, Randy, you need to get – have you ever been up to the Willis Tower in Chicago?
He's not going to.
And they have the platform that
he's
you're
not
able
going
to
to
walk out, and it's just all glass.
There's one really good technology now, Wade, and that's that other people do it and they take videos of it, so I don't have to be the one to actually go and witness it. I can sit here on my phone and watch it.
90 feet's up there, buddy.
Yeah, I mean, it's just a little flop wedge when you're playing golf, but when you get up there and you look down, 90 feet's a long ways.
It's pretty high, man. And yeah, I'm not overly happy about heights either, but anyway, Dylan is that kind of, he's a personality, man, that people love, and he's the true epitome, like you said, Wade, of what you want in anybody, not just an Auburn guy, right, but just as a human being. And
hey, Brett, let me jump in. I think Wade was making, and I think we can make a lot of examples of what he could be in the NBA, but I had a couple pop in my mind when he was talking. Rick Mahorn. We're 80s and 90s kids,
sure,
three of us. So basketball in the NBA took an enforcer. It took someone that was
when basketball was good, by the way.
Well, I agree with you.
In the NBA.
It wasn't necessarily all a perimeter game, and you had to have, somebody making 7 or 8 threes for you to have a chance to win. No, I mean, this was, you may get knocked out. You go down the paint against a Rick Mahorn or a John Sally, or I can keep going. I mean, there were 2 or 3 players on every team that could be what Dylan. Charles Oakley, and none of these guys were going to average 15 to 18 points a game. They may get you 18 like we did with Dylan, but they were going to play as many minutes as anybody on the team because they were that important to the team. And the way the game's moving back to a semi-post game, especially in the college ranks, which I think will end up being a little more even in the pros as we move on. Dylan Cardwell is going to find his place, and I'm here for it. I don't think we can talk enough about him. Wade said it. He's exactly right. There hasn't been many athletes come through Auburn more beloved than Dylan Cardwell.
No, not at all.
Be more like him or try to be.
Yeah, you're exactly right. Bubba said at halftime last night, my best friend texted me and asked, "Are we really this good?" My answer was, I think so. I mean, I think this is kind of a reality check for all of us because, like, we've had our runs under Bruce and we've been excited about, but we've never seen a team like this. And then Glenn said, "Hey, you really looks like the number one team in the country," and they do right now. I mean, again, I know we're early in the season, but as you guys heard the announcers over the last couple of days, and Auburn's got 3 unbelievable wins under their belt already. And for a lot of teams, they would love to have that over the course of an entire season. And Auburn's done it right here in the first 6 games of the season. And we'll look back at that Iowa State game, guys. And I'm going to tell you, the Memphis win was big. And obviously, anytime you beat North Carolina, that's great. But we're going to look back on that Iowa State win, I'm telling you, at the end of the season and go, that may be the best win we have on the whole schedule by the time all the dust settles, because I'm going to tell you, there's not going to be many beat that team. They destroyed yesterday. Who was it, the Colorado that they played? They absolutely mutilated them, and they were defending them to a suffocation level, just like they did against us. But the difference was we had the talent to be able to overcome it, and plus we play defense like that as well. So I'm telling you, I wouldn't be surprised to see Iowa State in the Final Four along with us. And we've already faced them. Obviously, Houston's a really good team that's dropped a couple of games now, but they're going to be right there in the mix. So Auburn has been challenged. We were excited about this schedule, guys, before the conference season. We still have a ways to go. We still have Duke, Ohio State, and Purdue left to play before we get there. So, I mean, we got 3 really tough games. We'll play Duke next Wednesday in Durham. So it's going to be fun to see. But, man, if you're looking to have some type of decider on whether this team is legit or not, you don't have to look far anymore.
Well, Bubba said it, and that was our text. Wade, I'm sure you were on some yesterday, and they were, man, this is fun. That's what most of the texts were. How much more fun could you possibly have as a fan than what you're having right now? Because, I could step away for a few minutes without worrying about whether we were going to give it up. I just had that feel that even if we gave up 4 to 6 points and let them get back into it, then we're going to come back and extend that thing out another 8 or 10 points. This is a fun team to watch. It's a very deep team. A couple of takeaways I had from yesterday is, of course, the passing, the assists that you get from your big men, but the change up in offensive flow. Those big men are getting the basketball at the top of the key a lot. Dylan Cardwell being one of them. And he's been coached so well to turn and look for these cuts that we've got going through, and he can keep it moving. We can keep the little weave going out there if we need to. But a lot of times these big men are finding other big men down in the post, a little high-low game with your 2 bigs that seems to be working right now. And that's been a semi-change-up. Maybe we've been doing that, and I just haven't noticed it because our big men haven't been as good of passers as they are this year. But those 2 guys getting 12 assists yesterday, Wade, 6 apiece, that was probably the biggest stat line that I hope we can build on throughout the year.
They got soft hands down there in the paint. They're not just brutes, and they're coached to move it around, look for someone, look for cuts, even if it's a small guy. I love how they get Tahad moving down there, and he's so athletic. He's and so fearless. That's just another element and layer of the offense that's hard to defend. I don't think that we've seen everything Auburn can do just yet either. We mentioned old basketball and old NBA. I'm with you guys. I had basketball cards. I love the old 80s basketball and into the 90s on playoff time too. And like when the Knicks were going up against somebody, forget about it. That's must watch television. And the old Knicks and Pacers games and the Bulls and the Pistons. But this team, if I were going to compare them to the type of attitude and different types of styles and personalities on that team, they remind me of the Bad Boys.
Oh,
I mean, they're just brutes.
Yeah, they're physical. And
Bedford, I'm telling you guys, you watch him play, and he looks like he's going to be our Indiana version of Isaiah.
I was going to say, you just hit the nail on the head there, Wade.
He looks like him.
He looks like him. He kind of plays like him.
Just fearless.
I mean, and can step back and hit shots, but can get inside and make unbelievable drives to the basket. Scott said the CBM pass over his back was a throwback to what Larry Bird used to do. How many times have you seen those clips of Larry Bird just flip that ball over his shoulder like he did in the I mean, that was a great pass. I mean, unbelievable to kind of the chemistry and these guys knowing exactly where everybody's supposed to be. That's again a highlight of coaching. And
well, you said it, Brett. You got to know somebody's going to be there.
That's right.
You know, but before you even think about making a pass like that, you've got to have enough chemistry to go. I'm pretty certain Dylan or Janai has found their way to that spot, and I can tell it's opened up just from Phil, and it was a beauty. I've watched a million of those Larry Bird ones, and Wade, you're hitting me in the heart, buddy. We used to have this argument down at work when we were printing and brain dead after about 12 to 14 hours of watching a screen printing machine go around and around. Scott Hardy, if you're tuning in, Isaiah Thomas is my all-time favorite point guard. He doesn't get the acclaim that he deserves because of the semi-feud.
He got screwed off the dream team for sure.
Well, he got screwed and Stockton got in, and I'm okay with that. But to not talk about the greatness that he was, because to me he is the epitome of what you're looking for in a point guard.
Well, he was the reason Detroit guys was what they were. I mean, look at all their pieces, but without Isaiah Thomas at the point guard, they don't do what they do. Wade.
No, I'm with you. And listen, they going back to college, and he was on some bad Pistons teams until they could and held that organization afloat until they could get some pieces around him, and they get a bunch of pieces that complimented him, that complimented one another. You watch that old ESPN 30 for 30 on them. It was a 2-part series. It's if you have any kind of interest in what the NBA once was and how great it was to me and to people like us here and our listeners probably too, you have to watch those 30s for 30. And I mean, Bill Laimbeer would have killed somebody had they tried to touch.
He's still killing people. I showed Randy a clip the other day of him in some league, some older men's league. He killed this. He punched him right in the daggum chest, man, and went down. Randy's like, "Is that really Bill Laimbeer?" I said, "Yeah, that's him, man. That guy ain't changed. He wants to kill everybody he plays against."
You know, you go and they all complimented the coach and the organization, and that was their culture. And this is what's happening at Auburn. No, not exactly like that, but Bruce Pearl's built a team of people of the type people he wants on there, and they're just inside. They're just, no matter what they are personality wise, outside they're just tough. Period. They're just tough. And then you add that with talent and athleticism and his ability to motivate and the numbers in getting people in late in these games. A lot of our people are fresh.
Yeah, that's the key. The depth. We talked about it. I'll say one more thing about the NBA and we'll move on. But back in the day when the Lakers and the Celtics played, hell, Kurt Rambis just went ahead and just clotheslined Kevin McHale, killed him. And they didn't even really want to call a foul on. That's the difference. You talk about really, if you didn't draw blood, there wasn't a foul.
Yeah, there it is.
Back in the NBA. And it was so much more physical and tough. Now, if you just breeze by somebody, they call a foul. I mean, the league, all this new generation that wants to talk about the NBA, you don't have a clue. This is not NBA basketball as it used to be, but this Auburn team is playing that old school type of ball, like Randy said, Wade. They're physical, they're deep. and the announcers talked about it, said, you come to Auburn, you're not going to get 35 minutes a game, but you may get 22 minutes a game, and your 22 minutes may be better than your 35 in all these other programs. I thought that was a big statement last night that resonated. And although Janai Broom ended up with 32 minutes last night, he normally only gets 26 to 28. And here's the guy that we're talking about being, leading player of the year category conversation. I thought that was big, that you're going to come in and you're going to buy into this system, but if your 22 to 25 minutes are going to be way more productive than you playing 35 somewhere else.
Did you see Bruce's post-game press conference?
Yeah.
Brett, actually the one with Andy, talk about Iowa State. I mean, he knows it. He says exactly what you just said. Y'all watch Iowa State.
Unbelievable.
That's a great basketball team. He didn't bring up the other two, which I thought was interesting, but he definitely talked about Iowa State. And
they're the imps of us. They're the imps of us, man.
Yeah. The only difference in that basketball game was, I think if we come out and we play a little bit better than we did to get to 18 points down, that we could have won that game, by 6 or 8 points. I do think we're that much better night in and night out, but it was just a tip. But defensively, they're outstanding, and you've got to be. That's where championship in college basketball has been. Is if you can't extend that defense and you can't deal with it, and you don't have some playmakers to make some shots when you've got guys trying to trap you and throwing big bodies at you and big strong guard bodies at you, then you don't stand a chance. And I love that the trade that we got in the offseason by the end of the year is going to be maybe the difference maker, and that's Aiden Holloway taking himself over to Alabama and us swapping him for Todd Pettiford. Because I think Pettiford, anytime down the court, can go get a shot. Now, whether that shot is him taking it or creating one for somebody else is going to be a big, big deal moving on. And Denver's gotten better at that too, y'all. Denver Jones has really gotten good at being able to physical his way into the lane and set up some shots either for himself or for others. And that's been a big deal here in the early going.
Well, I don't know if y'all want to get into this. You mentioned of drawing blood, Brett. Speaking of drawing blood, do you think that we're going to go up there and draw some this Saturday? Because that's what I'm looking for.
Yeah, I was about to just say we're going to shift out of this unbelievable basketball talk into a little bit of Iron Bowl talk here on Thanksgiving. I think we are, guys. I mean, I'll be honest with you. I don't mind the trash talk. I don't mind the little jabs, because you know what? They're sending a message. Hey, you guys are the ones that have everything to lose, not us. And, we're not scared of you. I mean, we came to Auburn for a reason. We're trying to get our program back, and we're coming up there to punch you in the mouth. And we'll see if you can take – I like the old Hugh Freeze pregame speech when he was at Ole Miss with Alabama. He said, let's go lock the gates and let's see what happens. If they want to fight, let's go lock the gates and let everybody stay inside the gates and see what happens. I like their mentality. You know what? So what if I saw some people on Twitter going, well, all this running your mouth. I sure hope you can back it up. Who gives a crap? If you lose, everybody's forgotten it in 3 or 4 days anyway. So back up what? You going to hold somebody before a jury? Like, oh, you said all that. Well, look at you. Well, who cares? Guess what? Next time we have a game, I'm going to run my mouth again. And that's what the mentality kind of this show has been today with Detroit and all the bad boy talk. I mean, not saying that's what we are, but I like the mentality of our players going up to Tuscaloosa. They're not going up there going, well, maybe we can go up here and maybe pull out a win or something. I mean, they're saying Eugene Asante's like, we about to kick their ass. And DeMarcus Riddick's like, hey, he ain't faster than me. He ain't much better than me. I'm going to keep him contained. I love the mentality. I mean, why wouldn't you want your team to feel that way?
Well, we had to change it up in our generation. I'm talking about, I always go back to the 80s, and Pat Dye had to come in the early 80s and change the whole dynamic of Auburn football, because Alabama had whooped us for so long and been able to win a lot of close football games. And a lot of those games we just didn't expect to win. And they found ways to win in the end, and we couldn't find ways. We found ways to lose the ball game. And so you do have to change the mentality. And I beg for it all the time. What is our identity with football? I knew what it was when Pat Dye was there.
Oh, yeah.
I knew exactly what we wanted to be. Now, whether we were that all the time, I don't know, but I know we were tough. And I know you didn't want to play us. And I know that when I watched our lines of scrimmage match up with other teams' lines of scrimmage, there was nobody going to push us around. Now, we may play slow on offense, and we may not go out there, and we may lose a game like we did down in Baton Rouge that night by probably playing it a little close to the vest. But there was never a question of who we were. And that's the reason, Brett, I'm for what you were saying. I knew what we were then, and I want to know what we're going to be moving forward. And I think Auburn's best when we're that way. Look at our basketball team. We're best when we're rugged and tough and confident and feel like we're the toughest SOBs out there. Auburn just seems to play better when they're led by somebody like that. And I don't feel that Hugh Freeze is slowing them up. Look, he's sending freshmen out there to talk. Could you imagine that with Gus Malzahn? He wouldn't have let a freshman anywhere near a mic for the decade that he was there. We've got DeMarcus Riddick, who's really only played seriously in 5 or 6 games as the spokesperson out there talking. What does that tell us, Wade, about Hugh Freeze? I mean, to me, it tells us that he's got a lot of confidence in these young men, and he wants them to be the spokesperson for what's about to happen in the years to come.
I did not think of it that way, Randy. That is a fantastic point. And right there, too, it just sends a message immediately to other recruits. You come here and you're a leader the day you stand on, one way or another, the day you step foot on campus, you're going to get your opportunity. And that's proven, for the talk part of it. I'm older combined age than Cam Coleman and DeMarcus Riddick. Okay. And in my day, they wouldn't even let you talk, let alone talk trash. But here's the deal. Y'all have stayed in what you do so close to everything generationally. And I think that there's still a role for sportsmanship generationally, and it will continue. But the younger generation is the one coming up that's basically taking control of everything here sooner than later. And they don't have the same viewpoints on things that we do. I listened to our good friend Luke Robinson from Locked On Bama to the show the other day on a show in Montgomery on the radio, and he was like, the younger generation isn't us. So and it's like football itself and all the changes in it. If you're not willing to roll with it, then you're just going to be angry, get off my lawn guy. Every time I've talked trash in my life, 99.9% of the time it's come back to get me. But, who's thankful that this trash was talked this week? Kalen DeBoer, because the biased in-state media especially has made this the talking point of the game, guys, and it's not. The coaches actually are the talking point in the story of this game. And quite frankly, I said it on Monday, and I wasn't exaggerating. If Kalen DeBoer loses this game, he is on the super hot seat next year. I will say this too. If Hugh Freeze doesn't do well in this game, and it's a lot like some of these other losses, he's going to be on the hot seat as well. So this is the story of the game. The coaches in their seasons being disappointed and trying to salvage what they can out of it. Alabama just barely clinging to life for a playoff berth. Need a lot of chaos for that to happen. It's not some 18-year-old kid popping off. It doesn't matter. And I heard some of the, that's how coaches get their teams motivated. If you've got to get motivated over a freshman talking trash, you're done anyway. Your season's over and you don't have a championship standard anymore. Who's going to win this game? The team that's most prepared, the team that comes in looser and not tight, seizes momentum, keeps momentum, and wants it more, and the team with the more to lose here is not Auburn. And from what I've seen out of Hugh Freeze this week, listening to him at Tiger Talk, doesn't sound like that they're having some strenuous 2-a-day get right practice week. They're out there handing out turkeys to families in need. So I think Auburn's going to come in loose. He's put these freshmen out there. That's the future of the program. And let's roll them bones and see what happens, Bama.
I love it. and I think Hugh Freeze has a lot to owe to DJ Durkin. And I told both of you this a few weeks ago. If he were on a team that had 8 or 9 wins right now, he'd probably be a shoe-in for the Broyles Award. He's still on the short list for the Broyles Award on a 5-win team. It's because the rest of the country recognizes that Auburn, on the defensive side of the ball, has played well enough to be undefeated. And that's the truth. Even the Georgia game, we were right there in that game and had a chance. And, you look at Auburn's record at 5-6, you look at Alabama at 8-3 guys. And I know, look, we analyze this thing from every which direction we can, but Auburn gave 3 games away from themselves. Okay. And you look at Alabama, they've won 8 football games. There's not much difference in the way these teams have played. Alabama's been able to pull out a couple close games, and Auburn has screwed away a couple close games. And again, I'm not saying they're the same team, but I'm saying the similarities in how they've won and lost games are there's not much of a difference in them. And, I'm hoping, Randy, that the win over Texas A&M gave this bunch the confidence they need to finally say, look, we know how to get out of our own way sometimes and actually win a football game. And I think that's why Auburn's a little bit looser going into this week and saying, look, let's go up there and see what we can do. And let's see if we can ruin Alabama season. Now, Texas A&M can still beat Texas and go to the SEC championship game, and their path's still ahead of them. But Auburn made it extremely difficult on them to do that by beating them. Alabama loses to Auburn, they're out of everything.
Well, I'll give y'all a couple of takes and a couple of things to watch, and then maybe we'll move on to a few other games as we head into this Turkey Day. Happy Thanksgiving by far to everyone out there. I haven't said that yet. Sorry. 37 minutes into the program and haven't gotten to that part yet, Brett. We're so excited about our basketball team that we forget it's Thanksgiving. We got a lot to be thankful for, including y'all too, and a lot of what we've got going on with our Auburn Blitz programming. All of you that tune in too, we're very thankful to each of you out there. We couldn't do this. If we pulled this up and there was one person listening, we'd probably stop doing it. And that one person wouldn't be my wife. So we're thankful.
Man, John Dent.
Nor mine.
No,
John,
I don't think
John will hang with us. John will be with us through thick and thin.
But back to the ball game, a couple of X factors is DJ Durkin's the X factor to me. We got to find a way to apply pressure to Jalen Milroe without it being a 3-man front. If we get back in the nickel and drop a lot of guys into coverage and don't find a way to get pressure back there, and I'm not talking about wild pressure off the edge where he finds open spots up the middle to run. We've got to have a contained pressure, but we got to find a way to get guys in there. And DeMarcus Riddick may be the X factor too. His spying and his ability to run sideline to sideline. And you haven't heard me say a single thing about the offensive side of the ball, Brett. Like, I'm hopeful that we play well offensively, but the way to beat Alabama's, they've got deficiencies on the offensive side. Right. They scored 3 points their last outing. If you can't watch the film of them scoring 3 points and realize that outside of Ryan Williams hitting you big down the field, they're not going to lean on their running game to win the football game. They haven't done it all year. They count on Jalen Milroe to do a majority of their running game. Otherwise, it's like 8 or 10 carries for 40 yards.
They have no running. They have no running attack at all.
Unless you expect them to totally change what they've done so far this year. The way that you beat them has been presented to you. It's right there for us to take. And so my X factor's DJ Durkin. But this 12-team playoff, Wade, and I'll kind of segue to you on this. This 12-team playoff has so many games more interesting than they have been in the past. For me, I'm going to watch a game with, say, a Clemson, a South Carolina. Some of these teams that have 2 or 3 losses, man, they're not out of it. The Texas A&M team Brett just brought up, man, they're not out of it. They beat Texas, go to the SEC championship game. They're still in it. And who's to say that the way I watch the parity going on in college football, I can't pick a team that I go Texas A&M on a good day can't beat. I think on a good day they can beat just about anybody. And so your thoughts, Wade? I think the 12-team playoff, some of the games that we've got coming up this weekend make it way more interesting than we've seen in the past to kind of pay attention to what's going on.
Randy, very well said and put, especially on the points on the Alabama. I'm going to have a lot of my analysis on the game tomorrow on air with you guys and probably my prediction then as well. But there are a lot of factors going in this Iron Bowl that are lining up that Auburn can exploit, and you touched on a few that I wanted to get to, but I'll say those tomorrow. To the playoff, I thought that when they did 12, it was too many. I'm a full transparency guy. I never believed in my life that the number 8 team by the end of the season in college football ever deserved a shot at the national title, outside of a couple of times when, like in 1986, Auburn was hovering around there, or when a Florida State team would lose a game or two early under Bobby Bowden in the late 80s, early 90s, and then by the end of the year, you wanted no piece of them. So I thought 12 was too many. I was wrong. And now when they talk about 16, I'm like, go ahead and do that too. And figure out a way where the top folks don't have to play is the same amount of games. But you've got teams going down all the way to BYU, UNLV at 21, A&M at 20, Colorado at 23, that still have a pathway to get into the playoffs and could do some damage in the playoffs. Parity is in here, guys. The days of stacking up talent and dominating people and talent whipping them year after year after year after year with a dynasty, they're over. Sorry to let you know that. Now, that doesn't mean that a team can't rise up and have a couple of back-to-back seasons, especially if they have a special player at quarterback, and make a championship run. But look at how many teams are involved. Two key games that I'm watching outside of the Iron Bowl this weekend that have serious implications are that Texas A&M and Texas game. And we talked about this the other day. You don't want any piece of that Texas A&M quarterback. If he's not banged up after that Auburn game, and that kid took some shots in that game too, he's going to give Texas fits at home. Okay. But the one that I have circled now, and I saw it the other night, it really captured my eye when Clemson jumped up in front of Alabama at 9-2. I'm telling y'all, no matter what happens, Saturday in Clemson, South Carolina, that is a college football playoff game.
It is.
It goes forward, because if you're ranking Clemson ahead of Alabama, although they squeaked by South Carolina, don't you get credit for beating the team that's ranked ahead of them and moving up? In South Carolina, let's be real, they may be playing better than anybody in college football right now.
Yeah, I think South Carolina is one of the best teams in the whole country, and I think they start on defense too. But Sellers really is the straw that stirs their drink too at quarterback, and Lenore Sellers kind of was made fun of to begin the season, but nobody's laughing now, especially teams that have to play him. And I think
they got a bad call at home.
Against LSU,
which should have been a W. They're right there with Alabama. If Alabama deserves to get in, they deserve to get in if they beat Clemson. That's another huge win on their resume. Now, they got beat by Ole Miss, but Ole Miss is just like anybody else. They're hit or miss. And this team has consistently since then gone out and taken care of business, including going to Oklahoma and destroying the Sooners. When we watch the Tide team that's clinging to any playoff hopes, most of their fans are kind of abandoned that notion, but there's some media folks out there still pushing it, go out to Oklahoma and just no-show a game with everything on the line.
Yeah, you're exactly right. I mean, all those points. I think that game is massive. That hasn't been talked about near enough. I think you're exactly right. I want to get to some of these comments, guys, because we got some great ones. Patrick said, we lost 3 games by 1 possession, and in Oklahoma, Missouri, and California. I mean, no doubt. And then we were our own worst enemy in all 3 of those games, including Arkansas, if you want to add them in the mix. G said, Randy, I thought about what you said about our punter has to do better. Imagine them seeing putting Malcolm back there, it will cause Bama to play a safety defense. I'm sure Malcolm will flip the field with his kicking ability. That's a strategy there. We'll get back to that one here in just a minute. Michael said Alabama is forgetting how to win, and Auburn is learning how to win. That's the difference in these close wins. I couldn't agree more. I think that's spot on. Auburn is on the trying to learn how to get out of its own way, and Alabama's figuring out how to get in their way. Now, what Patrick brings up this, what if Ryan Williams transfers? You don't know anymore in this day and age. We saw Caleb Downs guys transfer from Alabama last year after going to the playoffs and having a great run, and he hightails it out of town and goes up to Ohio State. And then Isaiah Bond did the same thing, and he's at Texas now.
Well, there's a team out west right now that's rather feathery and looking to fly south for the college football playoffs. You better keep an eye on right there for that scenario.
A couple of thoughts on a couple of those comments. Brett's heard me say this. Ryan Williams is the best high school football player I've had the good fortune of broadcasting. From my high school ranks, playmaking ability, X factor, confidence level, he's the best these two eyes have seen. So, look, if he wants to come back over to Auburn, I'll
come on over. Come on over.
I will embrace him with both arms, the same as we would. I'm not surprised at all what he's done this year. Everything I've seen pointed to this. So I bet he stays. He gets a lot of touches. I don't think he'll go anywhere where they appreciate him any more than what it looks like this offense does. Because right now the problem with Alabama is all eyes go to him. They don't. Jeremy Bernard and others that they've got that are great playmakers, they don't seem to get the football in their hands or try to get it in their hands as much as they should. Back to G's. G's clearly listened to you and I call high school football over the last 3 years. Malcolm Simmons, Brett, you can say it because you called the games. Every time we sent him back there to punt the football, everything looked different. They weren't even worried about whether they were going to set up a punt. They had to find a way to defend him if he just decided to tuck it and run it.
Right.
And he did tuck it and run it a lot, and most of the times it worked out. But I've said it a million times, he could be – those of you that – I'm going to tell my age again, but kicking the football, he reminds me of Reggie Roby.
That's awesome.
His hang time is amazing. And, same as what he did in as a track and field athlete at Benjamin Russell, it's not like somebody's coaching him up. Now, I'm hopeful that Brett and the Board of Education in Elliott City go out there and hire a very good track coach, because I do think it's the lowest hanging branch that we've got in the school system when y'all get that nice new track set up at Benjamin Russell, Brett. I think it's going to be something you can sell. But, Wade, you don't know this, but I'm going to tell you, whoever draws the short straw gets to be the coach of the track team in Elliott City. It's always been that way. And Malcolm broke a state record in the high jump with very little coaching.
Right.
He barely missed out on the long jump. No, he actually broke the state record held by Orlando Waters. Wade.
That's right. I was going to say,
all the way back to 1990 at Anniston High School. He broke that state record with very little coaching, playing another sport at the same time. And then what did he miss out on the high jump by a half an inch?
Yeah, well,
he clipped the bar going over to break it. Well, on his last attempt,
the record, yes, he won it going away.
And we're talking about state record for all classes, not just the one that he's competing in. I mean, he broke those were a long time. He's that way in punting. He doesn't. Smitty Grider used to tell us this: I'm not going to mess with him. What am I going to say to him? It's kind of like a batter that's got a weird swing, but he's hitting 340 with 8 or 9 homers.
Yeah, don't touch it. Don't touch it.
What am I going to do? I'm going to say something to him and screw him up. I'm not going to say a word to him. I'm going to let him do it the way he's doing it right now. He's that talented punting the football. And so I just say that. And I'm watching last weekend. My dad sends a text over to me and Brett. He's like, do they not realize that Malcolm, there's not a chance that he hits one less than 40 yards? If we can't get that corrected, then at least we've got probably 3 or 4 more others over there on that sideline that did the same.
Run them out there on a 4th and 3 at midfield when you're going to punt and play some field position. Make somebody burn the timeout.
Amen. I love the idea. So good point, G.
That's the kind of information, folks, you get by following the AHSAA radio network here, because I knew he had broken Orlando Waters' record because I'll follow y'all on Twitter. So that's awesome information right there. Get over there and follow the
That's just one of Randy's 833 posts he makes a week.
I mean, I know what's going on in Alabama athletics strictly from those tweets.
Look, I'm gonna brag just a second on Randy. If there's somebody that posts more than him on social media,
that ain't happening.
I just like for somebody to stand up, just like the real Slim Shady, please stand up.
They don't exist.
With the real Slim Shady, please post.
They'd have to be crazier than hell to post more. I can tell you that.
All right. Ronald said, good morning. Auburn is going to have to play the best it has all year to beat Alabama. We have nothing to lose, but it's hard to beat Bama and Tuscaloosa, but I believe War Eagle. I'm going to go against that and say, I don't think we're going to have to play good football, obviously. I don't think, and Wade, I'm going to pick up off what you said to my comment the other day when I said, pull all the stuff out of the bag, go up there. I don't think we have to do that against this team. I don't think this is some kind of, hey, razzle-dazzle, pull all the stops out and figure out. It wasn't that 2009 that we lost. We had to – it was on a Thursday, right? Because Randy and I went over to the Auburn-Prattville football game that night and that high school game, or it was on a Friday rather. That game was played on a Friday. But, we did have to pull out some things, and we had the lead in that game. And, of course, the old Julio Jones pick plays down the field on the last drive with Greg McElroy, they end up driving down and scoring. But, that year we did have to pull out some stops because Alabama was loaded and they had all these weapons. I'm not saying Alabama's still not a really good football team, but this is a vulnerable team that's trying to find some identity, and they're going to feel the pressure of their fans. I think Kalen DeBoer's feeling the pressure of being in this rivalry for the first time and coming off of a dusting at Oklahoma. There's a lot of pressure on them, and I do love that Auburn's going up there. It seems like Auburn's always the one uptight going into this game. It feels different this year, guys.
In 2016, I went up there and watched Auburn get dominated by Alabama pregame. When Auburn was coming out of the tunnel, Reuben Foster and several other Bama players were out there basically blocking at them, barking at them, yelling at them. And I was thinking to myself, run through them. Let's fight. If y'all are going to talk trash right here before the game, let's get after it and let's see what happens. And we, of course, ran around and we were scared. And we were, and they just pushed us around like Nick Saban pushed his teams around. It was an intimidation factor. Auburn and other teams aren't intimidated by Alabama anymore. He's gone. And I think Kalen DeBoer is too ignorant, and not saying that in a bad way. Just he doesn't know. He doesn't know the culture yet down there, over there.
He does now.
But he's about to find out if he loses this game. So the pressure's on them. And Auburn doesn't have to go razzle-dazzle. They don't have to pull out the trick plays. In fact, I don't want to see them unless we're rolling. Just go out there and ball and play fundamentally sound. And I'm just going to go ahead and get into it real quick. I saw two things where Alabama is extremely vulnerable on defense. One, injuries. They've got a ton of them in at key positions, and they're out from Robinson to Lawson. Two, that left side of their defensive line was getting cratered by Oklahoma Saturday night. Now, I don't want to go into a recency bias, but you can't just deny what happened in this past game. They were pounding that side of the defensive line all night long, and there were no answers. So it's going to take Auburn getting really physical. They don't have to do anything super special, but special teams are going to be a big part of it. They've got to make all the field goals when they kick them, and if they muff a punt, just like in all the other Iron Bowls, they're going to lose.
I'm going to leave the rest of it for tomorrow. I can't say it any better than Wade. And Wade, bring more with you tomorrow because I need some more talking points like that. I haven't looked that close. I'll go back and I'll close with this. The storyboard's out there on how you beat Alabama. It's been done 3 times. And this previous game is the perfect example of what Auburn can go in and scheme up and beat them. You keep Ryan Williams from hitting you big. Keep Jalen Milroe for rushing for 120 to 150 yards, contain him and keep him in the pocket and make him beat you with his arm and beg him to hand the ball off to those running backs. I like our chances. I don't think we've got to play some extremely perfect game to win this football game. I think they're beatable. And it sure is nice going into a Saturday, either at Bryant Denny or Jordan Hare, where I don't feel like something wild and crazy or a kick six or some miracle fall down from the sky for us to win. I don't think that by no means in this ball game coming up Saturday.
Well, here's one of these maybe useless facts, or maybe it's a useful fact. Alabama's never beaten Auburn in Tuscaloosa without Nick Saban. I mean, just saying. You know, the only times they've ever been able to beat Auburn in Tuscaloosa is when he's been the head coach. Now, he's been the head coach for a while, the last 2 decades.
We ain't been over there and won in 14 years.
Right.
We can swing that a different way.
Right.
But
you only play 7 years there. It's not like we lost 14 in a row up there. But seriously, I mean, I think there is something to that, and that's what Wade just said. He said he's not there anymore. And I think with him exiting, left a little bit of that, maybe a lot of that edge, you know, from the fan base to everybody. Because I've been talking to a lot of Alabama fans this week.
Well, they seem downbeat,
and they've told me straight up, they're like, man, we're not beating y'all. I mean, 5 weeks ago, guys, I wouldn't have given us a shot in hell. I'm serious. I'd have been like, man, anybody going up there wearing orange and blue, crazy. I mean, you just are a absolute sacrificial lamb. You just want to go up there and say, I went to you're on some kind of streak. I hadn't missed an Iron Bowl streak is only reason you're going up there. I
missed an Iron Bowl since Shug Jug.
Exactly. I'll endure the pain no matter where it is. Bring the pain. But now I think Auburn fans are trying to find some tickets. We've had a couple guys, y'all, that said, look, I think we're going over there now. I mean, because they feel good about it. I mean, again, Alabama should be favored. They've got a good football team, and they may come out and look like the damn Green Bay Packers.
It could happen
Saturday, and we look like, and we go back and go, boy, that was about a short-lived week of glory for Auburn football. Here we are, right back to the same old crap. But again, I'll be surprised if that happens. I think our guys are going to go up there and play hard. Now, can we make some mistakes and screw it up? Yeah, we can, because we've been doing it all year, right? And it wouldn't be surprised we went up there and turned the ball over 3 or 4 times. But if we can play close to the way we play against Texas A&M, I feel good about it, guys. So
hopefully you can still hear me. Let me tee Wade up. I'm here in Lake Martin. Wade, I know with Cincy Green, our beautiful Lake Martin area is important to you. So talk about Cincy Green and how much this part of the country is becoming important to y'all's business and growth.
Oh my gosh, Lake Martin, for air that's cool and clean, call Cincy Green. We're running Black Friday special. Go ahead and announce it tomorrow. $2,000 off any new Infinity carrier system, up to $1,000 off on a replacement system. Hey, it's about to get really cold. A lot of people might be just cranking up their heating systems this weekend. So we'll be ready to rock and roll. If there's a no heat issue, give us a ring. Check us out at www.cincygreen.com. And if you've been thinking about getting a spray foam retrofit, now is the time to do it. You don't want to do that midsummer, and we'll be ready to knock that out for you as well. Hey, from Montgomery to LaGrange, Columbus to Lake Martin, and up in Huntsville, North Alabama, for air that's cool and clean, call Cincy Green.
There you go. And then in a couple of weeks, we'll be at Bunkers, Randy.
Can't wait.
Yeah, it's a great venue. If you haven't been out, it's on West Glen. Make sure to do that. Great people. I was knocked back when I walked through the door on how nice it is, and the new simulators they have in there, the bar area, the food was great. So we look forward to having some guests on our 12 to 1 show, as we'll do our television show from there coming up in the next couple of weeks. And I'll close out. If you need screen printing, embroidery, signage, call on Lee Apparel and Sign Source in Dadeville. We're wide open. I say elections matter, and they do. Our business has gone crazy this month with both. So if you've got advertising budgets that you're looking to use that for some stuff by the end of the year, to spend that money by the end of the year, call on us at Lee Marketing Group, 256-825-0197.
Hey, guys, everybody go out and enjoy some great food today. Happy Thanksgiving, everybody. You actually have you can sit back and not have indigestion from some crap happening with Auburn. You're actually leading into something positive. You just won the Maui championship, and we've got some positive momentum heading into the Iron Bowl. So don't follow up your turkey and dressing with a big old roll of Rolaids. You ain't got to just leave the antacids off today. Just enjoy that great food and the fellowship. And guys, let's just also say again, happy Thanksgiving to everybody that tunes in. You guys make the show. We love the comments. We love feeding off what you guys say, and we really appreciate it. We're so thankful for everybody that tunes us in every week. And guys, I hope both of you have a wonderful Thanksgiving. Spend some great quality time with your families, and we'll see each other tomorrow. We'll be getting the eye black ready. We'll be getting ready for Saturday.
Looking forward to it. Happy Thanksgiving.
Happy Thanksgiving. Thanks for having me. See y'all soon.